in Latin America, and this is East Europe, almost the same shape, and this is East Asia with China, and Southeast Asia, and this South Asia with India. And when I was a young student, I had the privilege to study in St. John's Medical College in India in 1970. Then the world was like this. India and South Asia was mainly in poverty, and so were China. And we had this big discussion, would the democracy in India make it, or would China make it with communists, or would no one make it? And this is what happened. Look here, it's quite impressive. When the population is growing here, hundreds of millions get out of poverty, billions get out of poverty, and we end up there the year 2000, and I can drag you onwards with projections. We go year by year, you see what's happened. We have to stop at the doorstep of Lehman Brothers there. Take one step backwards, and then we can continue forward like this. There we are. And you can see the fantastic thing which has happened is that we have halved the percentage of people living in poverty. The percent of people in poverty is going down. The tragedy is that the number in poverty is about the same. So the population has grown, and that population growth has got a better life, but we haven't managed to get the worst off moving. And this is more or less the situation where we are today. Now, I would like to start to talk about nutrition situation among the very poor. The very, very poor, where the problem is just energy, calories enough for the family. I spent about 20 years of my life doing research in Africa on this condition. This is a paralytic disease that occurs in epidemics. We named it Konzo. You've never heard about it. You've heard about Kenzo, but not about Konzo. And this is a real tragedy. But you have heard about Ebola. How come you have heard about Ebola when you haven't heard about Konzo, which has affected more people? Because this disease is caused by malnutrition and consumption of toxic food, and it will never spread to the rich population of the world. And it's caused by women who are small-scale farmers trying to feed their family, growing cassava roots, and when they have a bad harvest, they don't have enough food, they can't process the roots as they've been taught by their mother to remove the toxins, so they get malnutrition and toxic exposure at the same time, and it causes this disease. It's so strange, you know, and I would never have been invited to any international meeting had I only done research on this disease of the poorest of the poor. It's when I put it into context, it becomes interesting. So we have a dreadful situation in Hungary, and there's very little international business can do about it, almost on its own. It needs education, it needs good governance, and it needs most of all peace in those countries, because they are mostly war-torn countries where we have this. So down here we have hunger, or undernutrition you could call it, just too little food. But the main nutritional problem in the world, that is malnutrition. That is young children who are having a lot of infection, diarrhea, respiratory infection, and they don't get a diet which is adequate to recover after each infection. So actually you could call it an infection-malnutrition vicious circle, where the malnutrition increases their susceptibility for infection, and where the infection makes them unable to eat the mostly starchy diet that they have. Here, things can be done. Here a lot of things can be done, and you see the concern of this mother. Breastfeeding, of course, is number one, but that's not enough. You need good food with micronutrients, with vitamins, with fat, and in a way that the mother can prepare in a hygienic way. Now, from here, I would like to show you the data of malnutrition in the world. So I change this graph now, and I go over to this one. And I do full screen over there. And now I have money on this axis, $400,000, $4,000, $40,000 a year. The richest countries, no data, because malnutrition children is so rare, so they are not even generating bubbles somewhere. There's someone hidden below them. And this is 1990. India is up there. 50% of the children are malnourished. That means that they have a weight which is lower than it should be for their age. They haven't been able to grow to their potential. That means that they have not also been able to play to their potential, because they've had a miserable, unhealthy life. largely. Then it's lower with increasing income with a wide variation. And this is what has happened. This is what has happened if we rush forward here. Look, things are getting better. Some countries go the wrong way, but mostly they go the right way. In India is falling like this. Today, India has about little more than 40% malnutrition, whereas Congo has 25%. How can that be? How can the poorest country in war in Congo, the best available estimate tells you that 1 child in 5 is malnourished, whereas in shining India, with this fantastic, impressive economic growth and progress, they have 2 children in 5 in malnourished. I show you this to make you be aware that we only measure malnutrition in the children who are alive. If a child is dead, it doesn't contribute to the percentage in malnourishment. So the first thing that happens is that children start to survive. And some of these large numbers here in some of the lower middle income Asian countries is because children do survive now. Child survival is better. But it doesn't mean that things are okay and child mortality has gone down. It means still that they have a high disease burden of infectious diseases. They get treated for their diarrhea, they get treated for the infection, there is antibiotics available, but the food is not the best to recover completely, and they are still in a vicious circle, although it doesn't go to the death to the same extent. But when you get $4,000, when you are in the really successful emerging economy, then it seems that malnutrition is dwindling away. Just look here, South Africa, with all its challenges and all its potential is down there, and Saudi Arabia is down there, 1-digit percentage. So is everything fine then? You get $5,000, everyone eats healthy, and they are well? No. There's another nutritional tragedy waiting, or nutritional challenge waiting, and I will show you here. It's obesity. The epidemic of obesity, overweight, starts before child mortality has ended. There's an overlap between them. And unfortunately, World Health Organization cannot give me data so I can generate bubbles. It's mess. We don't have body mass index for adult population for countries in time series. It doesn't exist. Please, if everyone knows this, if anyone has it in their company, make it available for the world. It's really important that we get it. However, we can see that there are countries here, you see, the darker here, the higher obesity they have. United States is worse off than Europe. Southern Europe has healthier diet here. Look at Italy, how healthy they are there, compared to UK up there when it is about obesity. And South Africa, 20%, more than 20% obesity today. And they have 10% malnutrition. Saudi Arabia, 5% malnutrition, 30% obesity. So, it looks like this. Money this way, percent malnourished and obese that way. When malnutrition in children go down, obesity in the adults go up. And there is an overlap. You can go to a township outside Cape Town. You can find a 35-year-old woman who is obese and has type 2 diabetes. And she is nursing a child that is malnourished due to bad hygiene and frequent diarrhea and not adequate diet. There's an overlap even at household level today. This is very challenging. And how should countries handle this? We are going from malnutrition directly into obesity with an overlap. And look here, there are 4 billion people just about to leave malnutrition in the next 2 decades to come into obesity. So it's a good advice to your children to get trained in nutrition. There will be work all the way. It seems that we are very bad at getting the right relation to the diet. Human population. It's a very big challenge. And I will show you one thing here again. If I go back to my first graph, I want to show you what this means. Comparing 2 countries, Vietnam and United States. I have income on this axis down here. I have health on that axis down there. I take away the other countries just to show you United States and Vietnam. Look, Vietnam today have almost the same health as United States, but a very different income. I take them back into history and look at the trajectory. I have to put trend. Look at the trajectory. United States got rich first and then they got healthy. Vietnam got healthy first and then they're getting rich. They're growing like, 7, 8, 9% now, because they are fed up being poor, being so well educated and healthy. But the problem is that they, and I bet you will see Vietnamese people growing this way the coming 2 decades. You know. They will get into an obesity epidemic before they have much more money than $4,000, and then they have 1/10 of the income of the United States when they already have obesity as a major problem. And this means that you will have the big drama that I foresee in global nutrition and in drugs, and it's the following here, that you have the same burden of diabetes, cancer, and vascular disease that is a consequence of the obesity epidemic. And there's good modern drugs to handle this, preventive and curative. But they run into this with 10% of the money. It's a new dilemma. Today we know that the poor countries of malaria and TB don't get money for treatment for that. We will have a completely new drama in the drug situation, that the non-communicable diseases are diagnosed but cannot be treated with modern drugs in the middle-income countries, the emerging economies. So this is more or less what we have seen. Now, is this the end of it? Is there a happy little shining end down here when you have a good relation with your diet? Unfortunately not. That is the 4th stage. Eating disorder and anorexia nervosa continue to be a severe public health problem in the richest countries. So I give you this view of the global nutrition. Hunger, malnutrition goes into obesity, and then anorexia nervosa and eating disorder. It seems impossible for human beings to have a good relation to their diet. Thank you very much.